Hey y'all, welcome back. So today I wanted to do a pregnancy recap. So the first, second, and third trimesters. Obviously I've already had her, but these are all, it's notes that I kept in my phone, that I've had written down, either things that I've, asked my doctor or just wanted to keep up with. I actually am writing I don't even know what you'd call it, but it's like pretty much all the symptoms, all the details of everything from pregnancy to birth to postpartum for Sophia when she gets older. One, in case anything happens to me, but hopefully I'm not going anywhere. And two, because I've asked people close to me, and by the time, you start to ask and you have these questions, they can't, you can't always remember 15 years ago or whatever, however long it may have been. And medicine's constantly changing, so what happens for someone else may be totally different for, this generation or the next. So I'm working on that. That's the main reason that I have all of these notes, and then some of them, I referred, when I went to my OBGYN, I asked him, like, is this normal, or this is what I'm feeling, or whatever it may have been. So let's get into it. The first trimester. So we found out I was pregnant, and it feels, I don't know, it doesn't feel real at first because you don't have any symptoms. Your body hasn't changed any. At least for me it didn't, because I found out pretty soon on. But I don't know, that was wild because, this stick is telling you you're having a baby, but you don't feel any different. And so it takes a long time, well, at least it did for us, to wrap our heads around the fact that, we're bringing life into the world. So I have my notes right here. I'm going to keep reading them, referring back to them. I'm also feeding Sophia, if y'all can't see. I think one of the first symptoms was sore and swollen boobs. That happened pretty early on. I think the way I could refer to it, if you're a woman and you're watching, it was like when you get on your cycle for the month, it was kind of swollen and soreness like that, at least at first. And then my face got really dry. I don't know if y'all can see what kind of skin tone I have. But before I had her, it was clear like this. The only time I broke out was when I was super, super stressed. And every blue moon, my face would get dry, but it would be like I stayed out in the sun or my face got wind chapped or something like that. But with her, with that first trimester, my skin got dry, like it was constantly flaky. It was flaky. Okay, a weird side effect. I remember this so vividly. I would have sharp muscle pains, or like muscle spasms, in both of my sides. If you're an athlete and you have ran before, you know what I'm talking about when I say a side stitch. It was that area of my muscles, but it was every time I went to turn. Like, I don't know. And I asked my doctor because it was very painful, but it only lasted a couple seconds. And he said it was due to my, excuse you. It was due to my tendons stretching and my muscles stretching with them. So every time I would use that tendon and stretch it, like elongate it to turn, it would hurt so bad. Let's see. My hair grew so much faster. I don't know if y'all can still see my fingernails. So she just turned 4 months old yesterday. So this is 4 months postpartum. I used to bite my fingernails so bad, and I stopped doing that before I got pregnant, but I still had a really hard time keeping them tough. Like, they weren't very thick, they were always very brittle. Like, I could tap them on something and they'd break. They were constantly snapping off. So I just kind of kept them short, but they started getting thicker and growing a lot quicker. My hair started growing a lot quicker as well. I know when I was 3 months pregnant, I got a trim, like an inch or two, and within a couple months it was way past that. So and your legs, if you shave, I shaved my legs, that grew like every other day. That was crazy to me. Normally I shaved like once a week. I have relatively like blonder hair, but I could shave like once a week and there was no problem. But when I got pregnant, it was a constant. I was constantly having to shave. Okay, this was a tricky, I did not like this symptom. I had very bad like nasal, I'm gonna put her passing now, she's staring at. I had really bad like nasal congestion, and at first it started with like I couldn't breathe at night, so I was like, well, we need to turn the fan off, because I think it was, let's see, I found out in July, so first trimester, no, it was still hot outside, so Nathan sleeps with the overhead fan on, and I was like, we gotta turn this off, like I'm getting sick, and I thought it was just from having the fan on. No, it wasn't. It was just a pregnancy symptom. Apparently all of your mucous membranes like are super overactive all throughout your whole body, and one of those is your nose, and I constantly had boogers and just snot, or I was congested, like it was terrible. And it got so bad like I couldn't breathe at night, and so I asked my doctor and he said Benadryl was okay. So I took one Benadryl. I didn't take any after that, but it ended up getting a really bad cold. Like I had a mild fever. I was so sick. I remember that. That was terrible. It lasted probably like a week or two, the cold did, but the nasal congestion, that lasted months and months, probably until I got into the second trimester. The congestion stopped. But from blowing my nose so much, I would get nosebleeds too. So not like I would just be sitting here and my nose would bleed. It was more like I would go to blow my nose and my nose wouldn't stop bleeding, kind of. But not so dramatic. It was just enough for me to, dab. It wasn't nothing crazy. Let me see. I was constantly tired, which I think everybody is when they're pregnant. I was also working at a preschool / daycare facility, and they had moved me in. I was working with I think I worked with 4-year-olds for a little while, then I went down to the 2-year-old room, and then I got moved into the nursery. And when you're constantly, the nursery, you're constantly feeding, you're constantly changing, you're constantly moving, and I was tired so much. I craved Dr. Pepper and root beer. That was crazy for me, just for the simple fact that I stopped drinking soda, and I would drink like a soda or two, and most of the time it wasn't at home. It was when we went out or was at like a family member's house or something. They didn't have anything other than that. I would just drink a soda, but I probably wouldn't even finish it all. But when I got pregnant with her, I craved Dr. Pepper or root beer. So that was a crazy side effect too. And cold water. So I stayed nauseous. I stayed so sick. If I woke up too early, like I had the 5:30 shift at work, and if I woke up too early, I had a 30-minute drive to work. So that meant waking up at like 4:30, 4:45, trying to get ready, and then go over there to be there at 5:30. And that killed me between fatigue and constantly nauseous. I was at work throwing up, and I worked in the nursery, so you can't really turn your back, or, you know, there's just a lot to that. So cold water is the only thing that helped my nausea. I tried the crackers, I tried all kinds of stuff. Mints helped, gum helped a little bit, but cold, like ice cold water was the best thing because it settled my stomach and my esophagus, and just, it helped all around. But if I smelled something, everything stunk to me. So if I smelled something, could have been anything, I would like, ugh, I would get so sick. And every time after I ate, it didn't matter what I ate, I got sick. It didn't matter if it was just a little bit or a lot. I got so sick. This is gonna be like a TMI, which these videos, you know, this is about pregnancy, but I want to be open because I didn't know, and I didn't have a lot of people to seek in guidance or whatever. But hemorrhoids, so I got one from high school when I powerlifted. I was playing a lot of sports, I overexerted myself, I was picking up 2 times my body weight, and it happened. Well, once I guess she started getting a little bit bigger, probably towards the end of the first trimester, they got so much worse, and then I got multiple of them by the end of the pregnancy, and they hurt so bad. But it was from all the pressure being on there. Postpartum, gone, I don't have a problem with them, but that was one of the most aggravating, painful, that was one of the bad downfalls of pregnancy, was getting those are so painful, and they're aggravating. But you also stay gassy. I know that's a little TMI too. Between burping or whatever, you stay gassy. And I don't think I had, I was about to say reflux like a baby. Okay, I don't think I had indigestion. What am I trying to say? Whatever, you'll get the point. I don't think I had that until the second trimester, but when I got it, oh my goodness, that was terrible too. Let's see. Okay, so let's move into the second trimester because I'm talking too long. So the second trimester, oh, excuse you. By the way, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. I haven't got her ready yet. She's in her pajamas. Second trimester. Okay, I got a dark line, this random dark line from my bikini area all the way up to the bottom of my belly button. And it wasn't super dark, but it was noticeable. Now this is just the second trimester. I'll refer back to that in the third trimester. But I did start to get one of those lines. I got no belly stretch marks at all whatsoever, but my boobs were covered in deep, dark purple stretch marks. I got them so bad. Now what I used bio oil for the pregnancy, and I put it everywhere. I put it on my thighs, my booty, my belly, the bottom of my back, because I was scared. You know how your belly will stretch around when you get pregnant, so I was scared that, you know, the sides of my stomach, back area would have gotten stretch marks, because all of that was stretching and it itched. So in that second trimester, I started feeling itchy, but I made sure I didn't itch anything. I might have rubbed it like this through my clothes, but I made sure I didn't itch anything. I kept bio oil on at least 1 time a day. At the beginning, it was like when I woke up, when I took a shower, when I went to sleep. But then it got to where, you know, your routine, you know, you get so tired, and so I made sure at least once a day, and I didn't skip a day. But I kept that bio oil on, and it saved my tummy. But as far as my breasts, that was just a goner by the second trimester, because before I was putting bio oil on them, it was like overnight and they were just covered. Let me see. Oh yeah, my abs, I got diastasis recti, if I said that correct, I hope so. Where my abs were starting to separate, and you could see it because you could see her. She was in this tiny little ball about the size of her head. She was in this tiny little ball at the bottom of my tummy, right around my belly button. And when I lay down flat, you could just see where she was. You could see my uterus, you could just see this little ball. And when I flex, I would get like a ridge starting at the top of my abs all the way down to where she was. And I was like, ooh, that's so weird. I didn't know what it was, but my abs were slowly starting to separate to make room for her. Because I am so little, I don't know if y'all watched previous videos that I've made, but I am 5'1". I weighed 101 pounds before I had her. The most I ever weighed was 105, and that's when I was powerlifting, playing soccer, running track, cross country, all that. And so I also wore like a size 0, sometimes a double 0, depending on what the brand was, in jeans. And so that should show you how kind of tiny I am. I'm very, very small, or petite, if you will. But my abs did start to separate. When I went to the doctor, that's when I found out, because I was like, I get this weird because you have to lean back, and he was doing the Doppler to hear her heartbeat, and I was like, look at this. He was like, yeah, your abs are separating. He was like, I would expect that, you're really small. Let's see, what else? Okay, this is TMI as well, but my nipples used to be like a pink color, and they just got darker and darker and darker as pregnancy went on, which was crazy. I looked it up to make sure I wasn't like going crazy, but supposedly that helps baby when they get here. Not everybody this happens to, but it's very common, and your body does that so that baby can see where they're supposed to be suckling or putting their mouth to eat. I had no clue that was a side effect of pregnancy, but it did happen to me. And still today, they're lighter, but they're not back to normal. So there's a fly on my coffee, sorry. Let's see, we got that. The nausea went away. I stopped getting sick. That was wonderful. So the second trimester was my favorite trimester overall. Everything stopped, hurting. My side stopped hurting. My nose stopped being weird. And my nausea stopped. So that was amazing. I felt that, honestly, and you get this boost of energy. I just felt, not that it was like you drank an energy drink. It was more or less, I got back all of my energy that I used to have. That's a better way of describing it. I started feeling her kick, so that's one of the best feelings in the world, because you still don't feel pregnant. You start to look a little bit like you're kind of showing, but you kind of also look like you're just bloated. And so that was amazing, getting to feel her kick for the first time. And I felt her kick at 15 weeks. At 14 weeks, I felt tiny flutters. Like, I thought the whole time it was gas, because you were so gassy in the first trimester, and that's when you're rolling over to your second. So I didn't think anything of it. And I consulted with Nathan's mom, and she was like, that's the baby, you feel the baby. Well, then I really felt her at 15 weeks, and then obviously each week after that, you extremely feel baby. So and her placenta was in the back, so I felt everything she was doing because she was up front. And all that, I didn't have a lot of body fat, so all that was there was my ab muscles, and so I could feel her extremely well. Oh, this is so odd of a thing that I had never heard this before, and I don't know if this is common, and I forgot to ask my doctor the whole time. But I got random brand new freckles. I got one on my thigh that is so dark. It looks like you took a Sharpie and like poked me. So that was super crazy. I didn't get them on my face or anything like that, but it was just random, like on my chest. I don't know if y'all can see, there's a couple like right here. I just got super random dark freckles, and they showed up out of nowhere. So that was really weird, very odd. And then, of course, you have the humongous 20-week anatomy scan in your second trimester. And so I was nervous for that. The whole time they never asked for dad's history. So I was like, oh my gosh, well, like, what if he's a carrier or something and so am I and something happened? You know, you just, in the back of your head, it wasn't something that I dwelled on or anything like that, but it was thoughts, random thoughts here and there, especially when you think about, you know, you go to your OBGYN, he's like, okay, well, I'm going to book your anatomy scan for next week, and I'm like, well, what is that? And he explains, that's when they check, you know, how many fingers and toes the baby has. Does she have a cleft palate, or a cleft lip? Does she have all of her organs? Are they all functioning? Are they on the outside of her body or the inside? Like, there's just so many things that they check at this 20-week scan that is so crucial and very important. We were there for probably, let's say we, like she was there, but I was there at the anatomy scan for probably, I would say, a little over an hour. So that's how long it takes them to really check it thoroughly and make sure everything's there. And I got a woman who normally works in the ER, so when she normally does the anatomy scans, it's something traumatic like a car accident, and 9 times out of 10 she was dealing with something very sad. Something either happened to baby or, you know, I don't know, she didn't explain, but I could get what she was saying. She works in the ER and she said she doesn't have a lot of happy moments. So in other words, I'm sure she has to tell parents, you know, you may have lost the baby or something's wrong with the baby or whatever. So she was filling in for whoever was supposed to do my ultrasound, and she was so excited that this was a healthy, happy pregnancy that she printed out, it literally printed out like 16 pictures of her face, of her fingers, her toes, of everything. And I laughed so hard. I didn't know she had printed these out the whole time, because I'm laying back on the table and trying to watch the screen and kind of see what she's seeing, and I'm asking questions here and there. And she, at the end, she was like, here you go, and it's like wrapping these pictures up. And I busted out laughing. I was like, I'm only supposed to get 3. She was like, well, hide them, don't tell anybody. I was just so excited. So anyways, that was a story, a fun little story. But anyways, it had the 20-week anatomy scan. Obviously everything was healthy. We had a very healthy pregnancy. Like glucose testing and all that stuff was done. Actually, I think the glucose testing is either in the 2nd or 3rd trimester. Don't let me lie to you, I can't quite remember, but you do have that test in there as well. This is when she got super active, was the 2nd trimester. You see how she's kicking? Yeah, that's how she was doing all over in my tummy. Okay, so let's move on to the 3rd trimester before this becomes an hour-long video. So 2nd trimester is my favorite. I got my energy back. I felt good. You're showing and you're getting compliments, but you're not too big to where you're uncomfortable. That was the best trimester for me personally. I loved it. Now, the 3rd trimester, on the other hand, this one was just like the first one. Let's see, where did we start? I just told y'all about how, you know, TMI, but my nipples got darker. They also doubled in size. That was really odd to me, but so did my breasts. They doubled in size, so I guess everything stretched and kind of grew. I didn't have any milk come in at all, no leakage. I know a lot of women they start leaking between the 2nd and 3rd trimester. I didn't have any of that. My milk didn't come in until like a week or 2 after I had her. But I'll do a breastfeeding video as well. So I'm gonna do breastfeeding journey, because that was a journey and it was a lot. We no longer breastfeed, as y'all can tell. I was just bottle feeding her, but I'll get into that in another video. I have a lot to say about that. And another TMI, I talked about the hemorrhoids. I got more. I ended up getting 3, all very big, all from the pressure from this little beautiful baby. The dark line that I referred to from my panty line to underneath my belly button now has stretched from my panty line all the way up to my ribs, like the top, very, very top of my belly. So I ended up getting that dark line all the way up. I know some women do, some women don't. I did. Y'all see this foot? Y'all see how big this foot is? You'll see my hand, see this foot? This foot stayed in my ribs the entire time. And it was painful, I'm not gonna lie, that was painful. But it was, she would stick it, she would stretch. She would stick it and just hold it there. And I would literally have to come right here's my ribs. I would have to come and push and shove her foot back out of my ribs. And then you could feel her turn like she was aggravated or whatever. But that was painful, and she did that at least once a day. And when I say painful, obviously it just lasted until I pushed her foot out, and that doesn't happen for everybody. My belly is like this big, and she's like this big, so where else was she gonna go other than my ribs? Some women have a long torso, I don't, so she stayed literally in my ribs, but when I say that, she was also in my pelvis the whole time, so she really had nowhere to go. No space, no room, so I stayed a little more in pain, I think, than maybe some other people would have in their third trimester. One, like I said, I'm so little, and two, I had a previous injury from powerlifting. I was deadlifting, and my whole rib head in the front and the back popped out of place, and that is so painful. If that's never happened to you, that's extremely painful, because anytime you breathe in and out, cough, sneeze, laugh, it hurts, because all those tendons and muscles got stretched. And so once my body and my rib cage started stretching, it was like that, ooh, that just stayed. It was a constant pain. So once I had her, I was like, woo, party, that feels so much better. But that doesn't happen for everybody. That was just an old injury that hurt for the third trimester. I would say month 7 is when it hit. That was around January. For me, I had her in March. I still got no belly stretch marks, and now I'm postpartum, still have no belly stretch marks at all. My whole belly or on my back. None on my legs, thighs, but I got them on my boobs and my butt. My butt is covered in stretch marks, but I only got 2 in the third trimester, and the rest of them came from when I gave birth to her, when my hips separated. But I can talk about that. I'm gonna make a postpartum video, so I'll talk about that in that video. I'm gonna try to hurry. I'm already at like 30 minutes. No bras fit me at all. They tripled in size, and so I just wore stretchy sports bras, or nothing if I just stayed at home. That was super uncomfortable to me, because even the stretchy sports bras were like tight on my rib cage that was already trying to expand. Oh, and my abs ended up completely separating a whole like 2 inches. So you could literally push on my belly down the middle, and you could just, it was like squish. And then if you went over like an inch or 2, you could feel my abs. That was the weirdest thing ever. But they went back to normal, so don't freak out. And it's not painful. You don't feel it happen, it just happens. Let's see. You have to pee once an hour, every hour, no matter what. If you didn't drink something, if you did drink something, you still gotta pee, because I had 6 pounds of baby on my bladder, so I was constantly having to pee. You get up in the middle of the night to have to pee. Just a fun fact. Let's see. I got lightning crotch during this. I was 6 months pregnant, so whatever trimester that falls under. I don't know if that's the end of the second or beginning of the third, but I did. I got lightning crotch, and it hurt so bad. It woke me up in the middle of the night. I thought I had a kidney stone. That was terrible. Like, I was almost crying. I was in so much pain. but it lasted for about 2 or 3 hours and then it was gone. So I don't know if she had stuck a foot down in my pelvis or what happened, but it's what it sounds like. Your crotch feels like it's on fire or there's lightning. Like it felt like a metal rod was coming out of my crotch. Like I don't know how else to explain that. Not to scare anybody. Some people don't have that, some people do. I'm very small. She could have moved a certain way and just agitated muscles or something, which I'm assuming is what happened. I asked my doctor about it and he just kind of chuckled and said, yeah, that happens, but he didn't give me an explanation on why or how. So at the end, I got doctor's visits. You go once a week, starting at 36 weeks, or at least I did. So at 36 weeks, I started thinning just a little bit. He said my cervix was ripening. At 37 weeks, I was 50% ephased, so I was like, woohoo, I thought baby was coming. She was not. 38 weeks, no change. Still 50% ephased and no dilation at all. And then y'all know, 39 weeks, I was gonna get a checkup, and that Friday, I ended up having her. That was the day of my checkup, so. At 35 weeks, so this is what I personally weighed. I know this was a question I had, like, how much weight do you gain? Do you gain any? Do you gain a lot? Do you gain 50 pounds? Like, I don't know. Everybody's so different, but what's average of what I looked up is like 30, 35 pounds. I weighed 101 before pregnancy. I had only gained like 9 pounds by month 5. But at 35 weeks, I weighed 125.8, so almost 126. At 36 weeks, I weighed 126. At 37 weeks, now I had my cowboy boots on, genuine cowboy boots, and they're very heavy. They probably weigh 2 pounds each. And so at 37 weeks, I weighed 132. But I know that's not accurate because at 38 weeks, I weighed 129. So I'm thinking by the time I had her, I probably weighed about 130. So I had gained 29 to 30 pounds for that whole pregnancy. I currently weigh, which I will get into the postpartum video, but I currently weigh for actually at my 6 week postpartum appointment, I weighed 111. So I only kept on 10 pounds, but you really can't tell. My hips are wider, and I don't fit into the jean size. I'll wear like a 2 to a 4 now in jeans or whatever. But I'll get into that in the postpartum, but that's pretty much everything. I hope I didn't forget anything. So that's pretty much everything. Oh yeah, and in your 3rd trimester, towards the end, right before you're about to have baby, I think around 36 or 37 weeks, you end up getting a strep test where they, stick the Q-tip in there and test for strep because they don't want you to push baby out and baby gets strep on her face or whatever. So you do get tested for that. We got tested negative, so that's good. But that's pretty much everything that I can think of. And that pretty much covers everything that weird stuff that happened or just normal stuff that I personally went through. Everyone's different. If you're watching this and you've not been pregnant or you're, you just found out you're pregnant, don't freak out. Everybody's different. But we're gonna get her dressed for the day and put a bib on her. Yeah, can you say goodbye? What you looking at? Say, okay, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.